Here we go, continuing on. Point number 5 of 7 points. Point number 5 of 7 points. If you've been following, keeping up, these points are highlighted with a red light. Check it out on a list. Go in order. Go in order. 1, 2, 3. Go in order. Go in order. This is point 5. Point number 5. And that is Libra, the 21st degree. Libra, the 21st degree. This point is surrendering self-importance. Surrendering self-importance, which is the awareness of the spiritual purpose of Taurus 16 in light of Aquarius 4. Understand, surrendering self-importance. Now, I'm going to need you to condition yourself to try to get outside of your ego, your sensitivity, so that you can listen and not just hear for what you feel so triggered about. We got to make understanding born. I do not have entertainment at my disposal. I don't give knowledge of astrology. I give wisdom of astrology. And this is the principal thing. Understand, there is a difference. So I have to use the examples that are living in our collective world as a macrocosm to understand and investigate the microcosm. And it goes on this wise. Libra was at the South Node when feminism and liberalism began dismantling. The Heavenly Father began to dismantle feminism and liberalism as Libra was at the South Node. And all of this had its final crash, the final collapse of that infrastructure once Trump accepted the presidency and began signing executive orders. This is when the building finally crashed into dust. The infrastructure of feminism and liberalism, it has fallen. Past tense, it has fallen. As you can see, this is why on the algorithm I'm stalled. I'm shadow banned. 104 subscribers. Months before this, it was 500 subscribers. Some of you were here during that. Months before that, it was 500 subscribers. You were here for that. And what I was used to doing was closing the channel and reopening with those who seemed to be a little more sincere than the others. I have yet to do that this time around, but that's not part of the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is anything or anyone that speaks against, goes against, moves against this regime of feminism and liberalism, you will face consequences within this material world. You will be punished in this material world. It's Satan's kingdom. And Satan uses women to move his kingdom. And ahead of all women in Satan's kingdom is the African American woman. I didn't say the Jamaican woman. I didn't say the Caribbean woman. I didn't say the African woman. I said the African American woman. That is Satan's favorite soldier. His favorite soldier. The full manifestation of Satan in the flesh. I can't even mention their names. You already know who that is. And you know what happens when you mention their names. So, even though it has fallen, there's still limitations on what you can speak on or not, what you can do or not concerning their fortress. They're still trying to defend what they have left of their fortress. South Node Libra was no ordinary transit. It marked a war that began in heaven. The angels went to war in heaven against demons, devils, and principalities in high places. And it's women who were behind its defense in the flesh and in the astral body, which is the culture, the active popularity in culture, the light of culture, the false light of false culture. And false culture is that which has lost value system, a lost value system, dysfunction, degeneracy, and so on. So, surrendering self-importance, Libra 21st degree, this highlights the illuminated expression of Libra. The South Node was emphasizing the shadow of Libra, the vices of Libra, the misfortunes of Libra, the crisis of Libra, which mostly includes women, attractive people, charismatic people, the spark of popularity, sexuality, promiscuity, lust, addictions to desires, the lack of obedience and discipline between a person and their desires. Venus representing the adolescent female and the female who is yet to reach the maturity of a woman's wisdom. All of this. Now, having said that, surrendering self-importance. Think about it. Think about it. We all in this current time are familiar with conversations online, okay? Instagram, social media, all of the alike. And what women always lead with, okay? This is what modern women lead with. They lead with their self-importance. Everything is about their self. What they feel, what they want, what makes them happy, if they're bored or not. And they coin phrases that they pass around, and that's typical for a demographic who lacks identity. American females tend to lack identity. Especially the African American female. She lacks identity. When females lack identity, they're like birds. They're just like birds. They sit on the telephone wire, and specifically, I should say, like parrots, and they just repeat each other. They have no originality, no original thought. No sincerity. Everything that they say and express is an expression of code that they agree on. It's a coded agreement of the sisterhood that no one should dare go against. No original thought. They do not speak from wisdom. They speak from political correctness. Always listening for where is the public agreement? Where is the public opinion? What has the public ruled? What have the people ruled? What does a comment section say? What is the overall majority opinion or outlook or interpretation? I will go with that. If they can't have access to verifying that, they will ride the fence. And they would say, oh, everybody, oh, everyone, oh, all people. They don't pick a side. Now, we can't say that there's something wrong with that. That's their nature. It's their nature. In illumination, it points at seeing unification in all things as part of compassion and empathy. The nurturing being. But in detriment, it's a crisis of playing the fence, not choosing sides. You now become a co-author of confusion, a co-author of mutiny, a co-author of betrayal, a co-author of hypocrisy, a living contradiction. You're waiting for what the Yas Girl crowd has to say about everything before that you have a position or a decision or a comment to make about something. And the South Node Libra females, they make statements and comments that are like Instagram posts. They are universal comments that get passed around. And once it wears out, they listen for the next thing and they begin speaking in that language. They mimic what echoes from the crowd. And part of that, in the midst of those statements, girl, you deserve. Girl, you deserve better. Girl, you deserve to. Girl, you deserve to. Girl, you deserve. Everything is you deserve. Everything is a petition for the frustration in not feeling the way that they would like to feel. But there's hardly an acknowledgement for the responsibility and accountability to what their role should look like in co-creating what it is that they say they would like to feel like. In relationships especially. There's a lack of accountability and acknowledgement in what is my role in co-producing that feeling, in co-creating that experience between me and the other person or persons. What is my role or duty? What is my part as a co-creator to experience the reality that I say I deserve to experience? The feeling that I deserve to feel. The status that I deserve to have. There's an entitlement. Because I have a vagina between my legs, I'm entitled. I deserve. I should have. I should not go without. Because I happen to have the female gender, I'm deserving of anything that I should plead for. I'm entitled. It's my right. No one should ever hurt me. No one should ever offend me. I shouldn't be delayed. I shouldn't be told no. I shouldn't be asked to wait. I shouldn't have to answer to authorities. I shouldn't have to show any kind of submission or obedience to any authority. Compliance. The American woman is something that we have created in this country by giving her a disposition of entitlement, because we collectively have been enablers of that state of mind that she walks in. We created her that way by agreeing to participate in that. From the cradle to the grave. Early on in life, we start out lying to her, telling her how beautiful she is. And she could be ugly as a motherfucker. How sweet she is, and how daddy's daughter deserves this, and daddy's daughter deserves that, and mommy's daughter baby deserve this, and mommy's baby deserve that. But the bitch don't deserve a motherfucking thing except for what she earns, works for. Except for what she creates or co-creates intentionally. That's what you deserve. She is entitled. And if she doesn't get what she wants, if it doesn't go the way that she wants it, there is hell to pay. Because conveniently, Satan has bowed the family court, the divorce courts in her favor, has bowed the law enforcement in her favor. Satan has made children her convenient weapon to leverage against any man that she wishes to, who's foolish enough to make children with her before testing her understanding and maturity. A life of misery. We enable her to become that way. Because she's a female, we're opening doors. We're forfeiting our opportunity, our rights, our privileges to practice the traditional chivalry, to practice the traditional masculine gentleman trademark within ourselves, this cultural agreement that women should be protected, women should be defended, women should be honored, and it is all true. It is all true. It is what we as men should do. We should be opening doors and laying out carpets. But what happens when they make a decision on their own to go their own way? Don't tell me nothing. Leave me alone. I got this. Feminism set them out to draw a line and say, our camp is over here, your camp is over there. You men are evil and we are good. And eternally, this is the law, that we are on virtue and you are on vice. We are on moral high ground and you are something to be despised or ashamed of in yourself. This is what we're taught since childhood. We are brainwashed to look at females as being on some high, virtuous, high horse. Like she's better than males. She can do no wrong. Don't question mommy. Don't say anything about mommy. Mommy can do no wrong. And none of us has ever heard our mother apologize. We never heard our mothers apologize. Mommy can do no wrong. Fathers can fit the description of being predators, child molesters, abusive, rapists, misogynists, male chauvinists, overbearing, controlling, a deadbeat, harsh, cold, threatening. The descriptions are endless. But in our culture, we have agreed that we are not allowed to mark any women with these characteristics and traits. We have agreed that she's not capable of becoming these same things also. We have agreed that no family has ever had women that were child molesters. No family has ever had women that were abusers. Women are not verbally abusive. Women are not physically abusive. Women are not controlling. Women are not oppressive or overbearing. Women are not threatening or dangerous. We have agreed that we do not place these descriptions upon women. We only say of them what is good. We find excuses. We let them off the hook. We bow down. That was the past. That was the past. But some of you men are still shook. Some of you men still have that sickness in you. Some of y'all are still bitches. Look in the mirror. Ask God to forgive you for being a bitch ass nigga. Understand. Ask God to forgive you for being a bitch ass nigga. Surrendering your self-importance, as I always emphasize to you, majority of these transits are about transforming the females of our societies into women, bringing them to maturity, giving them the fruit of womanhood, arriving them at womanhood. So there's no detail of astrological transits that you're going to find in this timeline currently that's not going to describe a point of transformation for females. Every bit of it describes it. The self-importance narcissism, it's a disease in American women. If they look a certain way, have a nice shaped ass, long pretty legs, big titties, pretty face, any of these attributes, any of these adornments of a physical appearance of her body, she overemphasizes a self-importance based on these features. It becomes her selling point. It becomes her point of leverage and bargaining. It becomes her point of negotiation. And she ups the price. Why? Because sad niggas like you and sad niggas like me, we increase the demand through our lust. We did that. We men did that. We increased the demand for a nice big ass, for a pretty face, for nice titties, for a good looking woman. Come on, fellas. You can't lie to me about what's in you, because what's in you is in me. When we are at a place in our life where we lack understanding, where we are immature, where we are unevolved, it is impossible to resist a fine woman. That's the greatest weakness that we know. I know this as a recovering addict of lusting women, okay? Yeah, I was a worse addict. I don't think anybody was worse of an addict for women than I was. I mean, if this was Alcohol Anonymous, I would shiver at looking at a bottle of alcohol. Understand? Because one thing I really enjoyed and would still enjoy if I could save myself from the trouble is women. There's nothing in life more pleasurable and enjoyable than women. And we fell into addiction behind that. And women became very aware of how much demand we were placing upon the fine girl. Especially, let me speak from the perspective of the African American community, okay? Because this is where I come from. You know what I'm saying? I come from the hood. So This is where I got to speak from the perspective of, if you're out there and you're white, Chinese, uh, I don't care, from Japan or Australia or South America, I don't care what country you're from, convert it to your own experience so we can, so we can walk together, because this is all inclusive. I want everybody in here of every color, every race, every background, every gender. I want two genders. I want everybody in here. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to speak from my language. Growing up, we all have seen how, as Americans, we created the conceit, the narcissism, and the entitlement that women walk with. Okay? It started in the family where little girls, they might bother their brothers, be mean to their brothers or siblings, but because she's a little girl, the boy is asked to be patient. The boy is asked to turn the other way. The boy is asked to show tolerance and strength. The boy is asked to show self-restraint. The boy is asked to forgive. She gets away with everything, okay? The little girl gets away with. When you go to school, it's the same thing. When a little girl drops tears, when she cries, when she complains, the whole world stops and it moves to rescue her. Rather she's right or rather she's wrong. It makes no difference. If you have a domestic issue and the police are called, NYPD is outside, okay? And a woman put her hands on a man, throwing plates and pulling out knives, they're still going to take an assumption with the man. The assumption is going to be taken with the man. She could say, oh, he hit me, he did this, he did that. Because she's a female, people have been used to taking her story, to taking her side of the story at face value. It hasn't been until recent times, okay, that the divide of the masculine and the feminine through the South Node, Libra, and Aries, that was the marking time after Mars left retrograde Gemini. That was the first time in history that society began to question the integrity of females, the claim of females. The Me Too movements, okay, the Me Too movement, when Kathy Hochul set it up so that there is no statute of limitations. You got old ass bitches all the way back, taking claims from all the way back in the 80s and 90s, talking about he touched me, he did this and he did that. And niggas is going to jail left and right. Motherfuckers is doing bids and getting sued. Millions and billions of dollars left and right behind that Me Too movement. Bitches is just cashing in. And all you got to do is be a female and cry some crocodile-ass tears and people believe you. They even have the movement of believe women. Believe women. They say believe all women. And I'm here to say don't believe shit until you verify it. That's what I'm here to say. Fuck believing women. Believe what you can verify. Let's hold on to that. Believe what you can verify. Because 9 times out of 10, if she's crying, she's lying. And that's the holy God motherfucking truth. Let Jesus come down off a cloud and tell me I'm wrong for saying that, nigga. I know that's the holy sanctified truth. Amen. Do a Holy Ghost dance to that. Had to sip my water on that. Rehydrate. If she's crying, 9 times out of 10, she lying. That's the truth. We have been enlightened about women since Mars left Gemini in retrograde. That was the turning point. And the death of Kevin Samuels is what really accelerated that. That was a turning point. Where people start to question, hold up, Everything mama said wasn't true. Everything that mama had to say about daddy wasn't true. Everything that the women in the family had to say about the men wasn't true. It can't be true that every single time the baby daddy is the villain. The baby daddy is the problem. The baby daddy is the one who just mysteriously walked away and for no reason except that he was a coward. He didn't want to be in the kid's life. He didn't want to be a father. He didn't want to be involved. He didn't want to have a say so. He wasn't curious. He didn't want to fight for them. But come to find out, we haven't been using our head. We've just been following along with the social agreement until we started questioning the agreement. And that's when we started to find the revelation. And this points back to Taurus 16 degrees, perpetual attempts to deepen and express knowledge. It goes back to Taurus 16. Taurus rules over values, the second house of values. We started questioning our values concerning that. We started questioning our ethos concerning how we relate to women, how we relate to our mothers, how we relate to our sisters, how we relate to women in society. And we started to see that they rocked us to sleep. They put a spell on us, that witchcraft kicked in, and they had their way with the world. They had their way with the family. Many men are sitting in jail right now because of lies that women told. Many men don't have a driver's license because of child support situations, so now they can't work, or in jail because of backed up child support, working harder than ever and seeing a fraction of what they earned due to the child support situation. But if you really follow and listen to the stories of most of these men, if you listen to their side of the story, women do not always tell the truth. They don't always include the details that are essential to forming the full picture. The fathers are characterized in her story. They are characters in her book. And we have only been listening to the woman's side of the story, the woman's version of the story in our families and in society. We have not been considering or honoring what men have to say. We have not been considering, weighing, and honoring the perspective of men. We have not been including it. And this is not to say that we should exclude women's perspective. But what is to say is that there's more to the picture. There's more to it than what we have been weighing and considering. We filled her up with so much self-importance to where when it came to explaining what happened with my father, why wasn't my daddy there? Why don't I have a daddy? Why my daddy didn't show up to my birthday party? Why he didn't call me? Why he didn't give me no Christmas present? But most of that was filtered through the female's feelings, the female's opinions, the female's perspective, the female's ideals, and most of all, the female's authority. You have fathers who may want to call just to talk to their kids. I'm not calling to talk to you, I just want to talk to my kids. But because they're not on peaceful terms together, the father and the mother, for whatever reason, or because there's unfinished or unresolved matters between them, she often, and I know this from witnessing, okay, and I know that there's 99 people out there out of 100 that could testify to what I'm saying, she will give the man a hard time. And she will say things like, if you don't do such and such, you can't talk to your kids. If you don't do such and such, you can't see your kids. And it's things that has to do with her, not him and his kids. She crosses the lines, and she violates what is sacred. She interferes with what is sacred, the bond of father and child. Because she has a problem with him, because she doesn't like him, because she's not unhappy with him. And it doesn't mean that he wronged her. Because I'm here to tell some of you sucker ass niggas out there, just because a woman is hurt don't mean she was wronged. Just because she was hurt, it don't mean she was wronged. Just because she crying don't mean she was wrong. Just because she's upset don't mean she was wrong. And just because she sees it a certain way, it doesn't mean somebody wronged her. Women come from very immature and undeveloped processes of dealing with emotion and pain. The techniques, the skills, the wisdom of how to process emotional burdens, it was not passed down from mother to daughter. Because we have to remember too, Lyndon B. Johnson's welfare state, it left women single and doing it on their own based on their decisions, okay? They decided to accept what Lyndon B. Johnson was offering, which was on the basis of not allowing the father in the homes, okay? That's how that works. Women chose that. And in the father's absence, in the husband's absence, they lack the skills to process and manage their emotions and feelings. That skill is not passed down. And part of the proof is in how our mothers used to talk to us and deal with us. They cuss us out like grown-ass men. They talk to us a way that children should not be talked to. And I'm talking about black mothers. Black mothers will fully cuss you out, beat you, not discipline you, beat you. They will take their anger and frustration out on you as they beat you. You talk about abuse, abusive language, physical abuse. They take their frustrations out on the children, cuss them out like a full sailor. All kind of different niggas in and out throughout the night. The kids is in the other room listening to mama hollering and screaming up on the mattress with some strange drug dealer or some straight ass nigga up in there. Different faces every time you turn around. She fucking and sucking, smoking weed, loud music. And when you want to come to get a hug, get some love, get the fuck out my face, go sit down, watch TV, get your noodles and hot dogs. Come on, man. Let's tell the fucking truth. Let's tell the truth. But the story's always told that the father didn't want to be there. No, I think not. Black men are not so cruel. We're not so cold. We are human. We have hearts. We love our children. We take pride in raising our kids. We are loving, just like anybody else. We're also forgiving. We're merciful. We're compassionate. We're not the animals that Jewish people, through the infiltration of hip hop and Hollywood, have portrayed us to be. Criminals and thugs and animals and bloodthirsty, violent, monsters. And we're not what our mothers and sisters and women of black women of society have been painting us to be. Now, again, if you're white or whatever else, I don't care. I know this goes on in your community too. All right. I'm speaking from my perspective, and I know it goes on in your community too. It ain't only us, because at this point, it's all Americans that's going through this. It's all of us Americans. We going through this shit. Men have been vilified in the family. We have been minimalized. We have been put down. We have been alienated. We have been characterized as animals and monsters. And it's always a bad story that's told about us. It's never a good story. It's always our fault. It's our fault why the marriage didn't last. It's our fault why the relationship between the children and the father turned out the way that it did. But she never seems to remember the effort that the father made to talk to the kids, to show up at certain events, to give them certain gifts or money or whatever else. But if it's not done to her satisfaction, or if it's not done in her way, if it's not done the way that she wants it, it doesn't count. She discredits it. She dismisses it. She overlooks it. She undermines it. Or she doesn't speak of it or mention it at all. And it's not only in how he relates to the children, it's also on a husband-wife dynamic as well. The same thing occurs. 70% of divorces are filed by women, 90% by college influenced women. Okay? Not a coincidence. And every time it's reported it's the man's fault, it's something he didn't do, it's something that he messed up on, it's somewhere where he went wrong. I don't think so. So you might say that I'm going off on a tangent in an unnecessary way, but really what this comes back to is the importance was given to her self. It was given to the self of her. And so that much self-importance, we're the ones who co-created that level of entitlement and self-importance. We co-created it because we enabled it and we participated in helping her to feel authorized to have that level of entitlement. We were conditioned, and it started with our mothers. We were conditioned to accept the fact that women have the last say so. If they call the cops, you're going to get in trouble, so you better comply. You better do whatever she wants because she has more to threaten him with than he has to threaten her with. Traditionally, you see the Lifetime movies and the stories I was told. Oh, daddy was abusive. Granddaddy was abusive. He used to beat mama. Black eye, slap around, all this other stuff. But the truth is, she is capable of more harm to him than he is to her. This is America. You pick up the phone, you go into jail. If you're a man, you're going to jail. If you go to court trying to battle for your kids, 9 times out of 10, you're going to lose. And you're going to lose miserably. Especially if you as a man are earning more money. You automatically lose. Because the judges make money off of men being on child support. They make money off of the crisis between man and woman. They make money off of these torn families. So they encourage it. They want it to be like that. You try to battle for custody of your kids, or, child support, or all these other things, or visitation, right? All those things go in favor of the mother, no matter what. And the children are raised being brainwashed by the mother to sympathize with her tears, to sympathize with her struggle, to sympathize with what she had to go through. But you know what? The children were not raised with any sympathy for man. They were not raised for any sympathy for fathers. They were not raised for any sympathy for the man's perspective, because they've never witnessed a man's perspective. They never seen what men have to go through. They never witnessed what men have to, what it looks like to walk as the father who was rejected, the father who was alienated. They don't know what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. So the children are distanced from feeling any empathy, sympathy, compassion, understanding, or relativity to what the father's crisis might be in hindsight to what went down. The only reality they have is they know what mama went through, but they have no idea what daddy went through. They have no idea what he suffered. They have no idea how much effort he put into trying to call them and talk to them so that the children would never forget that he was there, and so that the children would keep in the memory that he always tried. Even though the mother was always trying to make it difficult, the father would try his best to keep the children in memory of him, that he loves them, that he's not going to allow it to be about. He's not going to allow it to come between him and his relationship with his children. He's fighting for that. But that mother is so self-important to where she makes it about herself. And she wants the legacy, the story, the narrative to keep her in self-importance and keep the father as a villain as usual. And because that's the trend that's been acceptable, that's the formula that works, generation after generation, they wash, rinse, repeat, and they keep on doing that same thing for generation after generation. They keep doing that and they keep telling the same story. His daddy didn't want to be there. The daddy didn't care. He don't show up for this. He don't show up for that. Why would he show up when every time he does show up, you make a problem? You make drama. Every time he does show up, you bring him to temptation of, you know what I mean, of defending himself or violence. You provoke him every time he shows up. You start problems. The police show up every time. And it's not only because of him. Everybody in the world, because of the cell phone, gets to see the character of a black woman. Everybody on the planet Earth gets to see the temperament of a black woman. Everybody gets to see the attitude of a black woman. Everybody gets to see how black women react and respond to authority. Everybody in the world, I don't care what country you're in, you see firsthand exactly how black women are when it comes to resolving tension, frustration, differences, problems, conflict resolution. Everybody sees that she has no skills in conflict resolution. She doesn't have any. She doesn't take accountability. She doesn't apologize. She doesn't acknowledge what portion she plays or part she plays in creation, co-creation of an outcome. She turns a blind eye to it because we gave her that entitlement. Fathers have been suffering for long enough of wearing the reputation of being deadbeats, and they're not. They send money, and she say it's not enough. He sends what he has the ability to send, and it's not enough. He gets a gift that he has the ability and capacity to get, and she discredits it. She laughs at it. She says it's not enough. You know what? Just don't do that. Just don't do nothing then. Just don't do nothing then. Why? Because you can't give her what she wants. He wants to pick them up. No, I'm not letting my kids go in that neighborhood. I'm not letting my kids go in that area. Excuse me? It's better for the child to be with the father dodging bullets than to not be with the father at all. Because ultimately, you chose, when you lay down and you spread your legs wide open and you chose to let this man come inside of you and have a baby with him, you also chose the destiny that comes with that. And part of the destiny that goes with that is the child has to not only witness, but relate to the struggles of the father, the experiences of the father, the background of the father, where the father comes from. They also have to experience part of the destiny of the father. So how are you going to try to keep them from the neighborhood that the father can afford to live in? You know he can only afford to live in the hood, but you weren't thinking about that when you was laying down with him, when you was having sex with him, when you was, letting him get you pregnant. You let him get you pregnant and you know this was the case. So how can you now say, oh, I'm not letting my babies go in that neighborhood? No, I'm not letting my son go stay with his daddy over there because that's a bad neighborhood. They got bad schools and they got dangerous. That's none of your business. That's none of your business. If the child goes with the father and get his ass whooped every day of school, on the way from home from school and everything else, that's for the father to figure out with the child. If the child has to dodge bullets and avoid crack sales on the way to school, that's the destiny of the child to experience that through the father's destiny as well, because that's part of the wisdom that goes with his growth and development, and it was programmed at the time that he was conceived. All of that was considered the time that he was conceived. It goes with the destiny. So how are you as a woman interfering with something that is divine? That's part of what goes into the investment of the child's wisdom and destiny. He has to succeed the father. So because he has to succeed the father, he also has to have part of the father's experiences in growing. It's part of what informs his identity. His father come from a hard neighborhood in Brooklyn or something, dodging bullets and, you know what I'm saying, and dangerous situation, rats in the apartment or roaches in the apartment. Yeah, I know that's not nice. I know that's not good. But you chose to get pregnant by that man. So you don't have a choice. The son still needs to be raised by the father. And at minimum, the son needs to visit and be with the father in his world, not your world. He needs to go to the father's world because that is what gets the child in touch with his ancestral origins. That's what lets the child know what his ancestral origins are, because it's part of what informs his wisdom and intuition. It's part of what informs his nature. It's part of what informs his instincts. He needs to know from whence he comes. And he comes from dodging bullets and crack sales because the father was a drug dealer. So you have to let the son spend time with the father in these environments because it's part of his destiny to prevail through that, to pass through that. But you think that your justification is because you in a gated community and the father's living in the hood, that's a reason that justifies you keeping the kid from the father? No, you are wrong and you're fucking evil. That's not right. That is not right. The father may have far less money, maybe some unfortunate situation or circumstances, but children do not judge their parents for that. Children do not care about any of that. All they care about is, I'm with my father. My father loves me. My father and me was walking through the hood, and there was some situations I seen or experienced that were not happy, that was not safe, that was traumatic. But you know what? It showed me how protective my father is over me, how much he loved me, the extent that he would go through to make me safe and to reassure me. He taught me how to be courageous. He taught me how to stand up tall. He taught me how to maneuver those situations, circumstance. And as the child grows older, in hindsight, he looks back at the father. I am thankful that my father taught me things to prevail such crisis. Now I'm good when I move through crisis. My father taught me this. See, the blessings of fathers are remembered when you get older, not when you're younger. Because fathers represent discipline, order, structure, wisdom, foresight, character, strategy, strength. And these are the things that children relate to in older age, in later years, not in younger years. The crisis of keeping the father from the children doesn't show up until later years. But when they cute and they young and they small and you could dress them from head to toe like some little cute thing to decorate, like a fucking doll or some shit, it's cute then. But when they get of age and they start holding guns and selling drugs, when the little girls start fucking and running with street niggas, now you want to call the daddy and get the daddy involved. But you was preventing the father all along. You was tormenting him. You was putting him through pure hell in every attempt that he made to want to see his child. And you, just like your mother and just like your grandmother and just like your grandmother's grandmother, you have been lying on men for ages, for decades. Black women have been lying on men for decades. Lying. And now the whole world sees the character of the black woman for themselves. The whole world sees how she behaves. The whole world sees how she thinks. The whole world sees what she does when she's under pressure. The whole world sees her temperament. The whole world sees how much she lies and deflects, how much she's out to make herself look good at all costs, at any cost. She will do anything to make herself look good, no matter who she has to step on, betray, wrong, or railroad. She will do anything to make herself look good, and she will never apologize. She will never take accountability. This has been upholding curses for generation, and it's based on self-importance. She is overwhelmed in self-importance. Everything is about her and how it should go, how it should convenience her, how it should be easy for her. Everything is about how she feels and how she sees it. We have turned the corner on that in society where we are no longer subscribing to that. We're no longer bowing to it. We're no longer accepting it. We now see the truth. And because of that, men have turned a different page. We're now questioning and giving pushback to everything that she says and does. It is not believe all women. She wants us to believe all women, but we're not believing all women. No, we not. We ain't on that, and we ain't gonna be on that. Fuck all that. We done with that. It's people that went to the grave, died with lies on their head. It's people that went to the grave, died with their reputation smeared and destroyed. It's people that grew into old age, and the children grew into old age with these made up stories and narratives that went between kith and kin, that went between father and children, went to the grave with it. And there was nothing they could do to lift that story off of them. There's nothing that they could do to stop it from passing around the community. They had to simply wear it. And they had to wear it for no other reason than that the female told the story. So it must be true. It's so many black men, not just black men, American men, okay, who are good fathers, good men, but that woman gave a hard time, and he had to wear the reputation of being a deadbeat, knowing that he is not a deadbeat. But the children, they don't catch on to that until they start dating women, until they start getting married, until they start having families. But when the children start getting involved with females, that's when the revelation comes. And again, that also goes back to Taurus 16 degrees, perpetual attempts to deepen and express knowledge. Through experience, they start to see, oh, there's more to the story than that. She told me what she wanted us to see and think, and how, she wanted us to perceive the situation. She narrated the story to where she's the hero in the story, and the father's the villain. And she would tell it that way every time. And she does the same thing with her marriages. Same thing. And the sisterhood is always going to promote it, defend it, enable it, no matter what. And why do they do that? Because they all doing it. Because they all doing it, they all have to protect it. It's like a union. This self-importance, we have to surrender this self-importance. Now, if I talk about this in a way that fits all of us, okay, there's too much that we make all about ourselves. There's too many instances where we put ourselves in the way because we're too vested in what title we're going to have, what name and reputation we can earn and rise to, where we can fit on the ranks of hierarchy, and where we can fit in the ranks of power. It's our ego in the way. And this goes with the axis of Leo and Aquarius, in that Leo emphasizes the self-importance in its detriment, okay? Aquarius is the opposite. It's about service. It's not about me. It's not about how important I am. It's about the focus of what the people's needs are. It's about the focus of what solutions are being demanded right now. It's about the focus of how can I be a part of co-creating a good outcome, a fair outcome. How can I co-create with this person or other people justice? How can I co-create fairness? How can I co-create balance, harmony, and compromise? How can I co-create innovation? A concept, an agreement, an ideal, a project that means efficiency for everyone who's involved. That means comfortability for everybody who's involved. That means dignity for every person that's involved as well. How can I be a part of creating or co-creating an outcome that gives everyone the dignity that they feel like they need? That's where we have to surrender some of the self-importance so that we could see that view a little clearer, where it's less about me and it's more about us. It's a we thing. What works best for all of us? Is it really all about me? Am I self-centered? Am I too much invested in what the outcome will be for myself? How much I'm going to have to sacrifice and risk? Instead of communicating on the point of, okay, what are the needs of everyone involved? What are the limitations of everyone involved? What's the capacity of everyone involved? What value does every person involved have to contribute to the situation? Okay, so now how can we negotiate to have a fair outcome to where everybody walks away with their dignity? Where everybody walks away with a view of security, where trust cannot be something that we have to question or second guess when we remember each other's names. This needs to be the emphasis. We have to surrender to self-importance and let go of being so absorbed in the self. Females' modern age talking points all evolve around arrogance and conceit of the self, worship of the self, indulgence in the self, attention and validation for the self, me, my, I. Everything is self-centered. And when she raises children to think the same way. They don't think in a collective sense. They don't have collective critical thinking. They don't have a collective outlook. They don't have collective strategy. They can only think as far as their self. Everything is about their self. Why do you think these kids are so antisocial? They're absorbed in themselves. Self-importance is all they care about. Because they were all taught by women. Men are a collective disposition of consciousness. It's about the community. It's about us. That's a masculine disposition, not feminine. Collective. To each his own, that's a feminine disposition, not masculine. Because men have to care about everyone. Men have to care about the next person because men are expected to be leaders. Men are expected to exemplify what strength is, what leadership is. So we have to think in a sense of what about the other person? You step outside and throw your trash on the floor, you walk your dog, and the dog takes a poop and you don't pick the poop up. You're a selfish bastard. You are absorbed in yourself. You are refusing to surrender self-importance. Everything's about what's convenient for you. So it's inconvenient for you to bend over and pick the poop up. It's inconvenient for you to save your trash until you get to a trash can. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient for you to think about the fact that when you step outside and you half naked, there's married people in this community. And you're causing a trial to be placed upon your neighbor's marriage. You're putting a trial on the next person's marriage. You're putting a trial on somebody's wife. You're putting a trial on somebody's husband. That is surrendering self-importance. But because it's so important for you to wear that outfit and feel the feeling that you feel as a result of showing all your titties and ass, it's all about you. It's not about the fact that when you step out the house, you're supposed to have a consciousness of the community, not just yourself. Why would I put this on? And I know, there are married people in this community. When I go to the grocery store, there are married couples walking up and down the aisles. Why would I put my neighbor to trial? Why would I put my neighbor to temptation? Understand? When you're thinking about self, you raise children who think the same way. So they ride around the community, loud music, weed smoke, blowing out the windows, shooting up neighborhoods. Don't care if they shoot babies. Don't care if they shoot elders. They rob elders. All of these different things because they're self-absorbed. And because they're so self-absorbed, they're even more dangerous when they become criminals and thugs. They don't care about the effect they're having on the community. At least when we were still being raised by fathers and children went out there into the streets, they made it forbidden to shoot kids, to shoot elders. They might have been bang, bang, shoot them up, but there was rules to things. There was limitations. You weren't allowed to shoot when there was kids around. You wasn't allowed to shoot when there was elders there. You had to hold fire. You had to stand down. You couldn't sell drugs when, older women was coming around. You had to hide that shit. You couldn't even smoke a blunt or drink a 40 when the older sisters was out there, when mothers was out there, when children was out there. I was out there on the street, so I know. You know what I'm saying? You will hide your blunt and hide your 40 when mothers and children came around. When the Nation of Islam was walking around the hood, whenever they showed up, you will hide your 40 and hide your blunts out of respect, because it's not all about you. We are so absorbed in self-importance. Everything's about ourselves. We have to expand our view to remember, I am an influence. What influence am I having on the community? The way I dress, the way I carry myself, my behavior, my demeanor, my characteristics, my presentation. All of these things is sending out influence. What if a young man happens to admire me when he sees me? What if he admires me doing something that I shouldn't do? Now I'm partly responsible for what he does with that admiration. But if he sees me doing something that a man should do, like, I don't know, fixing a car, helping an old lady, get a can of soup from the top shelf in a grocery store, you know what I mean? Carrying some, elder person's laundry bag into the laundry, sticking up for somebody who's weak or defenseless, against somebody who's, I don't know, bringing violence to somebody who's weaker, stepping in the situation like, yo, you're not gonna oppress this person. You're not gonna wrong this person. Chill out. They should see men being heroes, being chivalrous, being protectors and leaders of the community, not being tyrants, not being oppressors in the community, not full of violence. They should see us defending justice and truth in the communities. They should see us serving out of love and justice in the communities. They should see us as reinforcers of rectitude in the communities. That's how they should see us. My father used to live in the slums in Newburgh, New York. And I would go to visit my father every weekend. This was at the time that, he and my mother got divorced, because I was raised by both parents, okay? But when I went to visit my father at that time, when he was in Newburgh, it was in the slums, and I watched him clean up the slums, okay? He was a politician. He was a pro-black activist, Pan-Africanist. He did many things. A college professor. He was a librarian. He was a chemist. He did all those things, and I watched it. I was a part of it. And what I could testify concerning my father is that I never once, ever seen my father litter, okay? He used to be a pimp. He used to be a drug dealer and everything else, but he had principles. You know what I'm saying? And I walked behind my father. I never seen him throw trash on the floor. And whenever people were cursing, and, I really should be ashamed of myself for ever cursing now. And I need to change that based on what I'm saying. I'm glad I'm saying this because it gives me self-reflection. Walking behind my father, he would go up to anybody who was cursing around me, and he would tell them, listen, I'm with my son, and you're over here cursing. I'm with my son, if you don't mind. That's what he would say. And he would do so consistently. You know what I mean? So the point that I'm making is, when we surrender our self-importance and we start thinking collectively as a group, as a society, as a community, we can change everything. We can change it all, right? For example, when you have the to each his own attitude, to where the village is no longer raising the child, everybody's in danger. Everybody's in danger. But really that starts with having marriages, having families, because it's hard to trust a neighbor that's single, because you don't know what they on. But when you know that the neighbor is married and they have children, they have a household to uphold, you know that they have to lead with the spirit of innocence. They have to lead with the spirit of justice. They have to lead with integrity. They have to lead with some type of character or code. Because look, you have a household, you have children, you have careers. So you're able to afford more trust to people who show up as a couple, a married couple and family with children are raised. It's different than knowing that your neighbor's single. Your neighbor's single, you don't know what they're doing in there. All kind of perversions and this and that. And, you don't know what they into. But at least when you see that you're in a community of married people, the consciousness is different. A community of married people, they tend not to be people that pollute, do crazy stuff all in the night, shoot it up and all this shooting up and violence and domestic, issues going on constantly. Married couples, communities of married people don't behave like that. That's communities of single people who have the most dysfunction. They have the most dysfunction. And those are the people who look away. Those are the people who say, that's not my problem. But when you're raising children, you can't help but to see, okay, what if my child is in trouble one day? What if one of our family members or households in trouble? Let's help this person. Let's be a good neighbor. You know what I'm saying? So when you actively work against the family unit, like they've done through feminism or liberalism, when you actively work against man, woman, child, when you actively work against the bond between man and woman, you're working against the peace in the community in and of itself. That's a major problem. We're doing ourselves a disservice. But when you show up as families, as married couples, married people with families, that's a very high consciousness. That's a high frequency, because you're leading with certain interests in mind, which is security. Security is the basis of your attitude. Security is the basis of your awareness. You're always thinking from the perspective of security and stability, because you have children, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have a family to care for. Security, stability is always on your mind. So when you're thinking, when you're a people, a community who's led by security, stability, you see things through that lens. And you also come to understand that I have to think a little less about myself and a little more about others. I have to compromise, because all of us need the security of knowing that, there's dignity afforded for us. There's consideration afforded for us. There's a focus on what our needs are collectively. It's not going to get overlooked. It will be acknowledged. My needs will be suffice. I have to show up for others. I have to stay in good shape and good condition, mentally, physically, emotionally, because somebody might need me and I might need somebody. It does something. It changes things. But that doesn't happen if we can't get off of the self-importance, because when we're thinking about ourselves too, you're thinking more like a predator. You're out for your own self-interest. What could I get? What could I get? Gimme, gimme, gimme. What could I get? Now you're preying on other people. You're just a predator that's preying on other people who seems like they might have something to give you. Looking for how they might be able to benefit you, how you could get off on them. And you raise children who think the same way. And then those children grow up to be the same ones kicking in doors, robbing the neighbors. You know what I mean? This self-importance, this conceit, it leads to narcissism. You don't care who you hurt. You don't care what destruction you make in your pathway. You don't care who you oppress, who you wrong. You don't care what injustices is on your hands. You don't care. You don't care what effect you're having on other people. You don't care. You don't care. You riding around here cheating with somebody's husband, cheating with somebody's wife. You don't care what damage you're doing to somebody's family. You don't care if you break up a happy home. You don't care about what effect that's going to have on the children if it gets found out. You don't care. You're selfish. You only focus on your own self-importance. Everything's about you. You get bored in a marriage. You want to file divorce because you're bored. That's what women do. Women get bored. And if they get bored, they're going to find a way to get out of there. And when they do, they're going to take everything that they feel entitled to take, which is everything. They're going to take it. But because it's so focused on self-importance, they don't care what effect it's going to have on the man, on the father, on the husband. They don't care. They don't give a shit. So, if you're still awake, you know what I mean? Proverbs 16:8. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And we've certainly been seeing that consistently as of lately, especially with celebrities and the self-importance that they've had. Proverbs 16:5. Everyone who is arrogant in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Be assured he will not go unpunished. Understand? We got to check our narcissism. Proverbs 28:26. Whoever trusts in his own mind is a fool, but he who walks in wisdom will be delivered. Understand? The dreamers fantasize their self-importance. They think they are smarter than a whole college faculty. The dreamers fantasize their self-importance. It's Proverbs 26:16. The dreamers fantasize their self-importance. They fantasize their self-importance. This part of the problem. We have narcissism higher than ever before because there is a superficial emphasis and focus on looks, presentation. Who shows up with the highest level of consumerism? Who spends the most money on material things? Who has a lifestyle that looks like you got it all together? And really what it boils down to is who is drowning in the most depth. Because 9 people out of 10 pull this off through bank loans. You get bank loan after bank loan and you're drowning, you're swimming in debt so that you can look like you're important. There are job titles, career titles. I'm an entrepreneur. I got this degree. I got that degree. I'm in charge of this. I'm an exec for this. I'm a supervisor for this. Everybody wants badges and titles. And because of the self-importance of wanting to express oneself through these superficial values of badges and titles, how often does the welfare and the security, emotional security and stability of children get compromised because of that? How often do children have to suffer going without the nurturing that they need because of that? Mama don't want a husband. She don't want a man in her house ruling over her, like so she says. She alienated the father. And now she wants to climb the corporate ladder because American women worship careers. They worship career status. They worship career titles. And they're willing to sacrifice the emotional security of their children to pull it off. They sacrifice their marriages to pull it off. They sacrifice a status or a connection with a good person to pull it off. They have abortions to pull it off, which is sacrificing a life to pull it off. Women in America are obsessed with titles of power and authority. They're obsessed with illusions of having power and authority. They're obsessed with it. They can't see it any other way. That self-importance, it has to be compensated somewhere. And where the load gets shifted at is on the children's heart, the children's emotional security, the children's mindset, the children's mentality. And then they grow up, mommy didn't hug me enough. Now they have sexual addictions. Now they're emotionally codependent. Now they're very insecure. They're all screwed up inside. Because the single mama culture is a culture of women who worship their careers, who are absorbed in self-importance, and will sacrifice everything and anything sacred to achieve it. And at the end of the road, the children, the youth are damaged. She got the title she wants. And when she does get the title, she don't even want it no more. Then she turns into a good girl all of a sudden, and she wants a good man. But that's not until she hits her 40s and 50s. It's a vicious cycle. It's a sad cycle. Libra 21, sinking into the mystery, a crowd on the beach. Sinking into the mystery, a crowd on the beach. That crowd on the beach, this goes well with Libra, because when we talk about Libra, we're talking about the hype, the people, the fact that the people's eyes are upon us, the fact that the people are watching, the fact that the people have expectations on us, the fact that the people want us to show up a certain way, the people want us to express ourselves a certain way, the people have already decided what our opinion is, the people have already decided what our style should be, what our agreement should be. And we fail ourselves when we agree to that ideal. Selling our soul, selling our opinion, selling our identity, so that we don't feel alienated or rejected from the culture. The comment section. We want to make sure that we're always in agreement with the majority of the comment section. Who has the pretty faces in the you know how when you look in the comment section and you see the picture of the person in the comment section or Instagram or YouTube or whatever, you look for all the pretty faces of the girls, and they all saying the same thing. They have the same opinions. Yes, girl. Girl, you deserve. Yes, girl. You ate that. Yes, girl. Period. And females, until they reach the wisdom of the mature woman, this is how females are. All right? Like, for example, some may say it's complicated to have more than one woman, being transparent to the fact that you have all the women. And I beg to differ. It's very easy. Okay? For example, let me give an example through woman's nature. Who are the most attractive women in that, local proximity? Okay? If you get the most attractive women or attractive woman in that local proximity, you now have access to majority of the women who are less attractive than her. And that fast is how you have 3 or more women who know that they're with you, where you can tell them that you have more than one woman. That's how easy. And why do I say that? Because the more attractive woman is a consistent authority, an ideal reference to the average woman. Okay? So if you have a room of 30 women, and there are 3 women in there that are far more attractive than the 30 women, 27 of the women are going to look at those more attractive women before they make a decision. Okay? So if you ask the 27 women, what do you think about this? Okay? If you ask all the women what they think about something, they're going to wait until the more attractive woman says something before that they have an opinion. They're going to wait for what the more attractive woman does or says or thinks before that they say something. Because women do not have an ID. They don't have an identification. They don't have one. This is what I know. This is what I know. So if the more attractive woman is with you, the women who are less attractive is going to want you. Because women want what they feel is at the tip of their reach. They don't want what's in their hand. They want what's at the tip of their reach. They want to feel entitled to a level that's higher than what they are born. So if you have a very attractive woman and you walk in through the mall, through the grocery store, down the sidewalk with a very attractive woman, every woman who is less attractive than her is going to want to be with you. And if you have a ring on your finger, it's even more intense. Women love a married man. This is what I know. It works the same way in social media. Women look to attractive women who have all this makeup and wigs and, you know, reaching at the phone and tapping on the phone with their nails and camera moving all over the place, not stable. Women are very primitive in their thinking when it comes to this. When they see all of that, the same magic and witchcraft of that puts men under a spell, it also puts women under a spell too. Even more so women. Because that's who women get their opinions from. That's who they get their ideals from. They try to find the woman who has a higher level of status than them in beauty, a higher level of status than them in sexual potency, sexual demand, and clout, and validation. And that becomes their standard of agreement. That becomes their standard of judgment and thought. So you don't have to figure women out. If you figure out the attractive ones, if you know the attractive ones, you know all of them who are under the attractive one, is what I'm saying. Whatever your relation is to the attractive one is immediately your relation to all of those who are less attractive than her. If you give me a group of 5 girls, all I got to do is focus on the one who's more attractive than all of them. I get her, then all of the girls are secretly going to come through the back door to try to get with me. The ones who are less attractive than her. That's what I know. That's a fact. This is nature. That's how that works. I don't have to worry about the ones who are less attractive than her. I just have to get the most attractive one. Once I got her, I got all of them. They're going to come through the back door on me. They're going to directly oppose her and challenge her. But you're the one who can say, hey, you don't got to do all that. You know, all of us could get down. That's how it works. Ask me how I know. Because I'm an expert on it. I've been doing this for too many years. So I know. I have an addiction with women. That's why I don't deal with women. That's why I don't fuck around. That's why I'm, you know what I mean? I've been, what do you call that word? Abstinent for, this is like the 5th year now. This is like the 5th year. I'm not sexually active and haven't been. Because I know my addictions. I know my problems. I know my weakness. I can't fuck with that. I'm a monster when it comes to women because I know women. So I choose to keep myself in a position to where I'm sharing the wisdom that I have with women to serve God, to serve the people, not to serve my own self-importance. Understand? So the point that I'm making is the crowd through Libra is always what you're considering when it comes to Libra is your relation to the crowd, to the hype, to the clout, all right? The comment section on Instagram. The comment section is a motherfucker. Now, sinking into the mystery, though we strain and struggle to establish our self-importance and ego gratification, it's lovely to just let go into the infinite mystery. Surrendering self-importance. What is the infinite mystery? The undefined self is the real self. Ah, look at that. The undefined self is the real self. How do we know that? Because the origin is Pisces. And Pisces is the mystery. Pisces is undefined. Pisces is where form goes back to essence. Pisces is where essence comes into form. The mystery. Understand? That's what women are supposed to be. Mysterious. That's why they don't have an identity. Because the lack of identity is meant to be a part of the mystery in and of itself. And the man that they choose becomes the identity. Because they become the banner and flag of the man that they choose. The woman is the banner and flag of the man that they choose. The woman is the lot of land that a man places his seed. So choose wisely. She's lost her mystery. because she attempts to identify with the forms given to her by the public. I'm a bad bitch. I'm a bad bitch. Turn up. City girls. All this stupid thought ghetto ass shit. Identifying with each other like fucking parrots. Wigs, 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 makeup, 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 walking naked in the streets. Where's your mystery? You are trying too hard to be sophisticated. I got a PhD. I got this. I got that. I'm doing this and I'm an entrepreneur and I run this and I do that and I do this. Not knowing that they're only turning the man off by saying all that shit. That's all they doing. They're not impressing a man. Guess what? Newsflash, you're not a man. You're looking from the perspective of a man. Yes, that's impressive for a man to say that to a woman. But it's not impressive for a woman to say that to a man. Dumbass. Dumb bitch. You're stupid. And I say that because men are constantly trying to tell these bitches this shit, but they won't fucking listen. They keep leading with that. I got a PhD. I got this degree. I'm an entrepreneur and I run this business and I got that and I'm doing this and I'm a vegan and I got this going on. I got that. And the man is sitting there like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And if he's generous, he's saying, okay, I'm just fuck this bitch and get the fuck on afterwards. Fuck it. Or I'll fuck with her. I'll fuck her, but I ain't gonna stay. Nah, she a headache. I'll clap them cheeks, so you know what I mean? I'll get down with her, but I ain't gonna, nah. Men want peace. Women want noise and chaos. That's the difference. What women don't understand about men is we don't like turn up. We don't like a bunch of noise. We don't like a whole bunch of action, stuff moving all over the damn place, noise and inconsistencies and chaos and unpredictable this and unpredictable that. No, men are routine. When we are in our right mind, we do the same thing every day. Wash, rinse, repeat. And we never change it. Because men love peace. We don't have to have different hairstyles, a different hairstyle every day of the week, different colors and all this other stuff. No, that's not a man's nature. We stay the same. We stay the same. And we evolve when it's time to evolve. But once we evolve, what we do is we set the speed control. We set the cruise control and we stay right there. That's what a man does. That's who a man is. We set the cruise control. Women hit the gas and brakes constantly. That's a woman. She's constantly hitting the gas and the fucking brakes. Driving all over the place, spilling the fucking coffee. Men, we set the cruise control and we go throughout life. That's how we do. When you're in your right mind as a man. But the problem comes in is where childish women who are not taught how to be women, they misunderstand that. You get with a man who loves and cherishes peace and she calls it boring. I'm bored. Turn up. You lame. First of all, bitch, you got kids. How the fuck is you looking for turn up and you got kids? If you have children, you must have a man who's boring. You must have a man who's stable. You must have a man who loves peace and quiet. You must have a man who leans into routine every day. It's a must. It's essential. Bitch, you got kids. What the fuck don't you understand about that? What the fuck is wrong with these bitches, nigga? These bitches is fucking... They're lost. They're utterly fucking lost. They don't even have the basic level of common sense. I swear to fucking God. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. You still looking for turn up, noise, action, go, 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 go. I'm bored. Excite me. Give me fun. He's lame. But you got kids. It's not about you. The self-importance must go away because you have children. You're not important. The children are important. The family is important. The marriage is important. The community is important. I am not important. I have no title from the universe, except that I'm the reflection of God. That's it. And if I'm the reflection of God, I'm the reflection of Pisces. If I'm the reflection of Pisces, I am the all in all. There is no single title for me. I am every frequency, every color. I am the essence from which I came. And I take many forms as I evolve and grow. Many forms, many names, many titles, many jobs, many roles, many disciplines, many levels. I go up and I go down. I gain and I lose. I go forward and sometimes I fall back. I feel strong and at times I'm weak. I'm healthy and at times I'm sick. I laugh and at times I cry. What don't we understand about this? That's the mystery of Pisces. We don't want to fall into the mystery. We want to keep the form of what people clap for, where the accolades at, where the validation is at, where all the likes are at, where the comments with all the pretty girls' faces is at. If your comment section don't have pretty girls' faces and emojis in it, you're irrelevant. This is the sickness that we have in this society. Any place you see a bunch of pretty girls commenting, some foolishness is being talked about. Something stupid is being talked about. Some entertainer is sitting up there glittering with the false light of Venus. And they're like moths and flies that are flying around a porch light, bumping into each other, sticking to the cobwebs. Fuck out of here. Sinking into the mystery. That's what we got to do. Sink into the mystery. Fuck your title, your job, how important you are. You know, I had a picture of a Muslim woman in a masjid, but really, when I think about this, when I was going to the masjid to pray every day, okay, of course it's sunnah or tradition to go to the masjid and pray if you're a man, you know, the traditional Islam or Muslim practice, and to pray in congregation. And when you go to the mosque and you line up for prayer, you come in and you make what's called wudu, okay? Wudu, which is ablution. You know, you wash your face, your forearms, your feet, you know, your ears and even your nasal passage before that you pray, so that you're in state of what's called ablution or wudu, okay? And what happens is you line up for prayer. Someone calls the adhan, you know, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah, la ilaha illallah. So, you know, you're lining up. And when you look down the row, you can't tell who's a doctor, who's an electrician, who's a farmer. You can't tell who's an entrepreneur, who's a guy who works at McDonald's, or who's a guy who works at Foot Locker. You can't tell. We all are the same. We are humans who have come together to stand humble in the spirit of humility before Allah, before the great mystery of this universe, before the singularity of light from whence we all came, to worship the force that we know love comes from, that we know truth comes from, that we know wisdom comes from, that we know protection and security in this life comes from, that we know our breath of life came from. And none of our titles can speak with us or speak for us. We stand as our humble selves, helpless, weak, frail, like the human being really is. Your special haircut, your special robe or your kufi, your beard, the perfume or the oil or fragrance that you wear, none of that makes you more special before the Most High. When you stand before God, when you stand before the Most High, the only thing that makes any person special is what's in your heart. It's your deeds, it's your actions, it's your heart. What is in your heart? We have no self-importance. I'm not special. I'm not more important than you. You're not more important than me. But if we can come together to accomplish things, that is what we have to uphold as being important. Because ultimately, all of our hearts, all of our hearts are in need of recovery. All of us, every one of us. How can we have so much self-importance because of a title? Because, oh, I'm handsome, I'm cute, I'm pretty, I'm fine, I'm 6 feet tall, I got a big ass booty, I got a nice BMW outside, I got a big old house, I got good credit, you got bad credit. What does that have to do with the status of your heart? We better start remembering that it's about the status of our heart. Whose heart is superior among us? And the one whose heart is superior among us is the one who gives the most humble service to others. Who serves others more? Who's first to serve? Who's the fastest to give? Who's the first to love? Who's the first to protect, to comfort, to guide, to give a helping hand, to share, to sacrifice? Who's the first? That is what makes us superior or not. And only that. Nothing else. We have to get this self-importance off of us, the narcissism. What made you think that the way you look makes you special? Your looks. How much money you got. The type of car or house, these materials. What makes this, how does that equate to you being special? How does that equate to a rank? No, fall back into the mystery. And the mystery is, I don't know if my heart is lighter or heavier than the person standing next to me. I don't know. That's the mystery. Whose heart is gold and whose heart is brass? Whose heart is iron? Whose heart is copper? Whose heart is tin? Whose heart is silver? Whose heart is a damn stone? Whose heart is water? Whose heart is fire? You don't fucking know. You don't know. The same person who you thought you was better than because they're in a lower earthly status in the ranks of hierarchy, job titles, careers, income, athleticism, looks. That person in the wheelchair who you think is in such a wretched position than you are because you're athletic and you're going all over the world as a football player making billions of dollars. But guess what? What if that person in the wheelchair has a gold heart and yours is made of tin, lead, a filthy heart? Who's in a better position? In reality, if you apply the number 7 to the situation, if you apply the power of dissolve of the number of the frequency of 7, if you apply the power of dissolve of the planet Neptune, if you apply the power of dissolve by the algorithm of Pisces, you will dissolve the form, you will dissolve the image and get back to the mystery behind that image, and you will see. The person who you think you're looking down on could be superior to you in God's eyes. But look at our criterion of judgment.